We want to thank God for this blessed time. Soon we shall be announcing decisions from the Executive Council meetings, including our transfers. The transfers are also part of our destiny in Christ. Transfers have always ushered us into God's providence. And so 50% of ordained ministers are here, 50 are not here, and all others who are outside this hall. I want to speak to your spirit. Then get ready for the responsibility that God has for you in case you are transferred. There was this young man who was a very brilliant student, medical student, and when he was about leaving school, his lecturer called him and said, "You are a brilliant guy, and I think that you can establish your own surgery." And then he says that, "No, I want to go to the hinterlands to go and work among the poor." And then the lecturer says, "That is not how to make it in life, because you're a brilliant guy. When you have your own clinic, you'll be able to make it in the cities. Why do you want to go to the hinterlands? That is not how to make it in life." And this young man, this Christian, said, "Which life?" Then the man said, "That is not how to make it in this world." This world. They said, "Are we in the world?" Then the young man says, "Which world? Are you talking about this world or the one which is to come?" Unless we lift up our spirituality, working among the poor is a burden. Unless we lift up our spirituality and focus on He who is to come and the reward, allow yourself to be beaten like the Apostle Paul, is burdensome. But one day He will come. Which world? Which world are we seeking to please? Which world are we laying up treasures in? I want to say, brothers, that the priestly ministry is a special privilege of service. You can't compare any other to it. It doesn't matter who you are. If you leave the priestly ministry and you enter into any other venture, your own people will ask you, "My friend, why?" They will ask you, "Why?" Numbers 18 verse 7. Numbers 18 verse 7. This chapter follows immediately after God has proved to the whole of Israel that He has chosen Aaron and his sons as priests. Then He decided to let them know the kind of work they are coming to do and how they should do it. I'll just read verse 7. "But you and your sons, the priests, must personally handle all the priestly rituals associated with the altar and with everything behind the inner curtains. I'm giving you the priesthood as your special privilege of service." This is the NLT. "I'm giving you the priesthood as your special privilege of service. Any unauthorized person who comes too near the sanctuary will be put to death. But you will not die. I'm giving you the priesthood as a special privilege of service." You are able to go into the sanctuary and even behind the curtains. But no other person who is unauthorized should touch any holy thing. The person will die. This verse warned Israel at all levels in the sacred hierarchy to avoid areas where they were not allowed. Certain sacred places were off limits to those not qualified in a technical religious sense. access to the most sacred areas were restricted, set apart for the holiest members of the religious community, so to speak. It was set apart for the holiest members of the religious community. Sometimes when I go somewhere, and then these young people literally kneel down, that pray for me. After I finish preaching and we have done all the prayer, say, I want prayer. When they see you, they bow to you because they think that you have something to give. So in the midst of Israel, God made certain people called the priests, like the holiest of the peoples among them, who can enter behind the curtains and deal with the ark. They carried the ark. They carried God. What a privilege. The others couldn't come close because they would die. The others feared even the ark. The others feared the ark. All worship was towards that small boss called the ark. But there are certain people who had the privilege of carrying the ark, working around it, the priests. Those who broke the rules violated God's holiness at the cost of their lives. The distinctive privileges of the Levites, especially the priests, were marked by significant responsibilities. Privileges always go with responsibilities. Privileges go with responsibilities, and that makes the work of the priesthood a noble task. Noble because of the privileges. Task because there are responsibilities in all privileges. The priests, unlike their brothers, had the privilege to go close to the holy things of God. Yes, they could go behind the curtains. And the high priest had the privilege of entering the Holy of Holies. Their own brothers revered them. It was such a privileged position that no other takes to himself. But he receives it when he is called by God, just as Aaron was. They were held responsible for any violation of the instructions concerning the temple worship. Whatever violations of the instructions, the priests were held responsible. Inherent in responsibilities are burdens. And I want you to pick this into your spirit. Inherent in responsibilities are burdens. They were mediators between God and the people. A people called to offer sacrifices unto God. So they had a privilege, but they were a people who also had responsibilities. And I say inside responsibilities are loads. Because for them, they were called to offer sacrifices. That is who they were and who we are. We are called to offer sacrifices. They depended on the mercies of their brothers for food. Look at how the tithes came to them. They didn't have lands. So when their brothers receive, then they give a tenth to the Levites, and the Levites also give a tenth to the priests. What of if they don't receive? They dependent on their fellows for food. They were restricted in their movements. Their habitations were strictly marked out. They mark the horizon of the Levites. You don't cross certain lines. So they will give you a backyard where you can farm, some space where you can farm and make some backyard garden. But they were restricted in movement. They had measured where certain place for you, you don't go beyond that. Whilst their brothers had the whole land to farm on, they had some that were measured for them. They could not go near a corpse. Even when a close family died, you don't go near the corpse. No. Sometimes, like it happened to Moses, he said, Aaron, you can't cry. When his two sons have been knocked down and they are dead. And then Moses said, hey, keep quiet, you can't cry. So the priests, we cry on the inside. People think we don't cry, but we all cry. Yeah. We cry on the inside. There was this day that I needed money. Then I went to the bank. I needed money to fix my children's school fees. Then the bank manager looked at my face and said, I'm sorry, what you are requesting for, your balances does not allow us to give you that. My balances. You see, when I was transferred at PIWC Atomic and the money fell into my account, do you know I was called by the manager to find out where I got the money? Because they have followed my accounts. They know that this money is a lost money. Then all of a sudden, money in your accounts. Hey, my friend, where did you get the money? When we were in South Africa, God decided to stay his hand from us. God kept his hands in his pocket and he watched us suffer. The people in our vicinity, they knew us, especially the shops, because we will go there maybe like 3 times in a day. Because any time that we went to the shop, we couldn't buy enough. So when money came into our hand, we just go back and then try to fetch some more. And the people knew us. Once I entered the place saying, Fundis, Eric, are you here? I'm here again. There is no money. There is no money. And I also decided that I will not trade in anything. And God watched me. He watched me. We cry. We cry. But we cry on the inside. Theirs was about the house of God. They work night and day because they must make sure that the fire on the altar does not die. They work night and day. Their lifestyle was not like the others. You cannot be a pastor who is not restricted in movement. No. You cannot be somebody who wants to please God and then mingle with the affairs of life as if you are an ordinary person. No, you can't please the master. But this kind of lifestyle that is associated with the ministry or the priesthood at the time, Moses knew it. He knew how much the priests had to do sacrifices. So when he was about dying and he wanted to bless the tribes of Israel one by one, let's go to Deuteronomy 33, I should say, verse 1. Deuteronomy 33, verse 1. The NIV will be okay. NIV, please. This is the blessing that Moses, the man of God, pronounced on the Israelites before his death. Now he was going to do that tribe by tribe. So verse 8, he now comes to the tribe of Levi. About Levi, or Levi, he said, your Tumim and your Urim belong to the man you favored. Favored means you privilege. You favored to the extent of them carrying the ark and all that. You tested him at Massa. So God tests us. You contended with him at the waters of Meribah. The next verse, please. He said to his father and mother, I have no regard for them. Were they insolent? When I was in my second station, someone wanted to know where I was. So he went home to my mom. And then he said, where is Eric? Then my mother said, hey, as for this, my son, Pentecost people have taken him away from me. See, sometimes you cannot just go home.